I'm happy to present to you Pitch Perfect, using client-side powers to land and deliver business relationships that rock. We have Greg Archibald, who is the managing partner at Gen2 Advisors, and Sarah Snudden, who is the head of insights at JDE USA.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Ooh. Thank you.
So let me give a little bit of background on me real quick.
All right.
And then I want you to do the same because it's important to have that context. So I've been in the insights industry for since 1943, something like that. Since the early 90s, I spent a lot of that time on the brand side, AT&T.
Oh, you were on the kindergarten internship track, right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Love you. And so a lot of time with major corporations and some supplier side background as well. And give us a little bit of your background so we can kind of put things in perspective.
I was always one of those, why do you people do what they do kids? And that when I realized you could get paid in corporate America to do that, I was pretty excited by that notion, especially since my colorful 20s were very colorful. I went to the research program at Madison and then Clorox, which was a really great place to get started. I took the road less traveled to Vermont and worked at Seventh Generation, and then moved over to Keurig Dr. Pepper in sort of that small world Vermont insight scene. I left Keurig at the Dr. Pepper merger and went on the supplier side for a couple years. So I got to look at life from a new angle, and my coffee band got back together and I work for JDE in the USA. They're mostly brands outside of the US, but Peet's Coffee is their big brand in the US.
Cool. Great. Thanks. And this idea of the KDRP and some of the big names and smaller names is going to come into play here.
Yeah.
So we have suppliers that want business, right? They want to make money. And so they reach out for emails and phone calls, and suppliers can come from any number of ways. So tell me, like, when you walk in on a Tuesday morning and you were out on Monday, what does your inbox look like?
Yeah. So part of why I was excited to do this talk is one of the things as an insights person you have to do really well is think about your client or who your target market is. And as your target market, I can tell you that we try to live with a lot of curiosity-driven empathy, and we really also spend a lot of our time trying to sell insights into internal partners. So we've got our own little bit of sales. So you partly have to think like an insights person and a little bit like a marketer with me to kind of break through. So I come in, I probably have 50 plus emails a day that come in from different suppliers pitching different things.
I'm sorry, 50 supplier emails a day?
Oh yeah. No,
okay.
I get way more email from the outside world than I do from my internal world. Definitely by orders of magnitude. And, when I was on the supplier side, one of the things that I remember going through was like, should we target the longer tail, smaller companies versus the really big ones that take longer and are harder to crack? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, I actually got less supplier mail when I was at the bigger companies, in part because I think it's almost more targeted what your function is. In the role where I'm at, we were initially under the T Forte name, and then we switched. So not only do I get twice the mail because I'm on two lists, but I also get like anyone trying to sell anything into a small client company. So it's like software for accounting, injection mold plastics, like teas from other countries. Like I get really a lot. So I'm trying to scan and find the gems, the diamonds, the needles in the haystack. But I also have like a second to do it.
So let's talk about that because seriously, like it is a second.
It is a second.
And so how does someone break through when you've got literally a second?
Yeah.
What pops for you?
So really, one thing that's super duper important is I see right now a lot of AI, and long ago we're a full service market research provider, and like both of those give me very little to grab onto. Ultimately, a lot of us are looking for like a journey, a ride, a destination. If you start talking about like a piece of your engine, like it's hard to get my attention. So if you're just talking about like the really cool thing in your tech stack, I don't know how to translate that to a benefit. So what I look for is someone who can really efficiently say, what job are you doing for me? What is the thing, like in my own words, ideally, that you can solve for me? And then I'm willing to look at reasons to believe why you can do it. But it's not, I don't come to work saying, you know what, I need a SaaS platform.
So one of the things that I experienced is the lack of differentiation. Like something that may be important to me, and the phrase that I use over and over that I kick people in the shin over is actionable insights. I have heard it. It's an important outcome, right?
Yeah.
We all need that actionable insights piece. However, when 99% of the companies are saying, we give you actionable insights, it's not believable on any level.
Yeah.
So whether that's true or not true. So how do you start to kind of take that idea of a benefit and make sure that there's some differentiation in the mix?
Yeah. So two things there. One is like actionable insights is almost like a description of the end, but you still haven't really told me the what it is. You're helping me how I'm getting to the actionable. I want to know what you can do, what we could do together. The other one that I think is interesting is don't overlook, and I know for a lot of people who are really excited about their tech properties, do not overlook the emotional branding part of it. I got to be an early introduction to Zappy, and when it was Ryan Barry's first week, and at that time, Zappy was like, we're automation. And I was like, okay, great. Robots are going to inherit the world. I work with you, and I'll be friends with the robots, and that'll be great. But the one thing Zappy did really well from the get-go, and they iterated to greatness in ways that are now really obvious to us all, and I'm grateful I got to be there for that journey and be a client who was one of the original lead users and really get into it. But I think that the zap and the happy, the quickness and the happiness, the moment we did that first study together and I had results the next day in a world where like people were used to waiting 4 weeks, people were just like, how did you do that? And I was like, it was such a good feeling. And that ability to kind of think about the emotional dividend or benefit to me as in the background of all your tech, like that's really important. And it creates these, what I call friender alliances. Your friends and your vendors and your partners like really become tight all together. That's ultimately what a lot of us want.
Yeah, that's the idea of the suppliers helping make you look good, right?
Sure.
And I just want to point out that Zappy is picking up our drinks tonight. So give us some examples of emails that have either been really good or less than really good.
So one of the things that I think you can do that really help me when you're in this scan mode, or it works on LinkedIn too, because a lot of times think of that, you basically have like a thumb scroll to kind of capture my attention. Bold your benefit, like bold the thing you're doing, because I'm scanning, I'm trying to like process this information in a responsible way. But if you give me that boost of like, what is your benefit? And don't be afraid to repeat it. One of the things that doesn't work well is I'm just pinging this to the top of your inbox. And I was like, yeah, well, I know because I open it. But then you're making me scroll through 3 times of you pinging me. Like, I see you're trying, but like, I almost need that benefit again and again. Don't be shy about repeating that benefit, because if you think about the world of an insights person, we work with marketers who know you have to repeat that succinct message over and over and over. And like, even if I don't need exactly what you're selling, if I know you're associated with that thing, I know to find you when you're there. I will give you another worst case scenario, and this is my absolute pet peeve, is the one where it's like, I see you haven't responded to any of my emails. I guess you don't care about insights. And I'm just like, oh,
out.
Please don't shame me. Like I do care about insights, and I would care about you, and I'm going to give you a talking to when we meet in person.
Because I care.
Yes.
This is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you.
Yes. I have reached out through email a few times to be like, here's why you need to stop with this approach. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, they've made the benefit clear. The benefit is valuable to you. It's different than some of the other things that you're seeing. And you go, all right, I'm willing to spend some of my time talking to you and getting to know more. So once you say, yeah, let's chat, what needs to happen then? Yeah.
So in that initial conversation, like, one of the things that's like, you keep in mind that I want to do something with, and I've given you the time because I think you could help me do it. So like, if you start with tell me about everything you think about, that's not your best open, because I might go there, but there's the people who really want to like hear about my whole strategy, and gosh, you really don't. You want to get to the part where it's your advantage and help me see it. I think the other thing, as you're having that first moment, is I think there's been many presentations that spoke to this, like, are these people leaning in? Are they empowered? Are they kind of seeking? Or are they kind of sitting back and maybe coming to you because they're under duress, or they've got a problem to solve? And when you think about that proactive person, you're able to approach them in a different way than someone who's cautious and risk averse. So getting that first kind of sense of like, emotionally, where am I at in terms of like, pushing out versus kind of like leaning back, it's super important to detect. But think about it times 2, because you also want to know, am I within an organization that's risk averse, and maybe I'm the scout who leans in? And you have to kind of balance both of those. And then I think just really creating that right space for like help, like understanding the how it works is really always kind of secondary to the what you can help me do, and painting that picture.
I want to talk about this idea of being prepared for the meeting a little bit differently as well. And I want to share an anecdote that was one of the more powerful that I've witnessed. We help a lot of brands identify better suppliers to address their research needs. And we had an insurance company, and we brought in a few different potential suppliers that were looking at how to communicate about ideas around insurance. And everyone came in, and they know how they do things, and they do them very well, and they come at different price points. But the highest price point by far came in and said, this is all the research that we've done on you since we knew that this meeting was going to happen, and this is the direction, and here's why we think this is the direction, and here's our understanding today of where consumers are. So they walked in 20 yards in front of anybody else.
Yeah.
And they got the work, and they were probably priced a third, 33, 40% higher than anyone else. Yeah. So that preparation coming in to understand the pain points, ready to solve those pain points, I think just needs to be double underlined.
Yeah, and I think be prepared for, obviously you can't, not every tool lends itself to coming in with we did a little study on your behalf, but having a really good case study or two, having a really tight capabilities one-pager, in mind, if not like a literal page. But being able to see those examples, even creating a sense of fear of missing out with some of us works, like showing those case studies has a little bit like, like I want to keep up. I do think there's some personal research you can do that helps, with a quick scroll of LinkedIn, a few things about a person that also says like, hey, I went a little bit extra. That works in the email side too, I think, of just like either knowing about the person or the company is a good, you sort of take that skin in the game a little more seriously.
So I don't know if we have questions or not, but we're kind of coming towards the end of our structured. But so like you have this meeting, and what besides the connection to your needs, what are some of the things that you use to evaluate those companies? The stability of the company, the locations, anything else that kind of fits into that mix?
I'd say don't be afraid to think about the competitive space that you're in. A lot of times in companies I've been at, you have to think about like, who else did you look at? There's companies with more serious purchasing agendas that sort of make you prove as the purchaser that you've checked the boxes and that you understand the lay of the land and you didn't just, get smitten with one thing without looking more broadly. So be prepared to talk about like how you compare to some key competitors. If you're new to this space, think about how you compare to something who's maybe relatively well known. I think that's important and one to be ready for too. Not to take it personally if they ask like who your competition is. It's not that, or who you often are being compared to.
So do we have any questions? No? Okay. One of the things that I do want to, again, double underline is the power of saying no, and this is from the supplier side. If you know that you are not going to be a really good fit, say no. This does two things. One of it gives you tremendous credibility.
Yeah.
The trust factor goes from 5 or 10% to 90% when you say no, because you're not just in it for the money. And the one example that I will give is when I was at AT&T and I had a incredibly large budget, and someone came in and I said, here's a problem that I have $1 million to spend on. And he said, don't spend it on with me, spend it. And he gave me 2 or 3 companies that would be good places to spend that money. And that statement probably earned him $5 million worth of business over the course of 2 years. Incredibly powerful, coming in, knowing what you're good at, what you're okay at, and what you're not good at.
Yeah.
So, and that's part of that competitive sense as well.
I mean, the flip side of that is like, you stuck your neck out to do something new. You've gotten the company aligned to do it with you. And then if it's a fail, you don't get to, you have to like burn that off. And that's not a fun burn. Now,
I'm just nodding.
No? Okay. Well, let's do a quick hand raise if anyone has any questions. Here in the front.
Bobby? Good. We're listening.
Say it loud. Say it strong.
I just wanted to ask you, Sarah, what motivated you to go on that journey quite early? You were talking about with Zappi, and would motivate you and probably your peers to go early and go on that journey.
Yeah.
Versus, stepping up with somebody who's already further along.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have different maybe buyer personas, and I'm someone who really enjoys the scouting aspect. There are not that many of us, but if you can find the scout type, it's usually worth quite a bit because we know the other scouts type and we talk among ourselves to some degree. So that's, but there's a lot of people who are, kind of maybe almost better at the internal side. Like the scouts like to be out kind of seeing what's on the lay of the land. And then there's the people on the inside who take those ideas and really make the honey with what we bring back. And I think that spotting that and spotting if someone's risk averse is key. But for me, I'm looking for, again, with Zappi, once we got past the automation, and I could see that it was faster, cheaper, better, I was like, and really kind of getting that sense of like, seriously, you could give me results the next day was almost unbelievable, but it was also kind of too tempting not to try.
So, and 2 things I'll add to that, and one of them's going to be blatant. PR piece. But
Do you want me to do that part?
sure, that'll look a lot.
That'll look better, Greg.
Several years ago, we did kind of a segmentation of insight professionals on the idea of change. And about a third of people said, what we do sucks. Any change is good change. About a third of people said, we've been doing this forever. No change is the right path. And about a third were like, prove it to me, and we'll we'll go from there. So whatever you can do to find that group that says, we're not going to change, and get them out of the mix as quickly as possible is going to benefit your sales and marketing dollars.
Yeah, and I will say that sometimes there have been the moments when I've got to really find something big, or like maybe I don't have all the evidence, and I've relied on people like Jen too to kind of help me like get the lay of the land. Like I really geek out, and there was a study we did on just all the people who provide brand tracking. I think in the end we looked at like 21 vendors, and we took like 7 or 8 through full proposition to just look and compare. Not everyone geeks out on that level, but having a partner like Jen too, or someone that you can find in that network to help you think about the other options also kind of helps you understand how the decisions get made. Or if you're on the buyer side, finding those people who do the homework that you can crib off of is good too.
And the last thing I'll say, and we're out of time, is when you talk about the scouts, this conference probably has the highest percentage of scouts, this series of conferences. So keep coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.